Now, this is the first piece of conduit that I have bent in many, many, many years. Let's see how bad I can screw it up. I can remember what the damn marks on the benders mean. Let's see how that looks. Tell you what, folks, I don't even know if I want to put lights in here because I think it's just going to make the nice little mess I have that much more noticeable. And that means we've got a fall cleanup coming because it's usually what happens. I spend all year turning a space in the garbage, and I'll spend half the fall cleaning it up, and then all winter turning it in the garbage again. Now be careful when you have an open box like this. Make damn sure you know where everything is. Hey, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Did you really get that on the first try? No, no way. Not even possible. And we'll level everything up and then we'll get it finalized. For those of you who are constantly on my ass about safety glasses, boy do I have a treat for you tonight. I told you guys I wear them once in a while. It's usually if I have to cut anything over my head, I'll wear them. Big reason I don't wear them a lot, it's a bastard to wear them when you wear glasses. But for this situation, better safe than blind. Now let's get a clamp on it. Well, there's one. Only about 100 more to go. You know, every video seems to end with me throwing my feet up on this anvil these days, but it's just right for this cheap plastic rocking chair. Get that out of the way. I wonder why it's such a mess in here. I really shouldn't wonder. So we've got some conduit run up in the ceiling to start wiring in some lights. The pole boxes we have in there, we are going to mount outlets to those. It'll be single gang outlets. So it'll be one duplex in each of them. And off of those, we're going to go with MC cable to tie the wires in going this way. Now, I really wasn't planning on running a bunch of EMT up in the ceiling of this building, but you know, it just looks so much nicer and so much cleaner than just running MC cable where you got a lot of loops and stuff like that. Going that way, I can secure them up onto the sides of the second floor joist there, and so that'll make it a little bit easier. So anyway, there's some good information a lot of you have been sharing as far as this goes, and I thought maybe I would share some of the comments because it's good pertinent information. This is a lot of stuff that I know, but a lot of times, sometimes you don't always think to put it on the camera, you don't always think to discuss it, but it is very important. If I'm going to come across as if I know what I'm doing, I really should be mentioning this stuff. And some of it is, some of you guys are refreshing me as I go. Like I said before, been a lot of years since I've done this work on a regular basis, so I'm still stuck on the 2009 version of code, if that tells you how long it's been since I've done a lot of this. That's back when I was wiring houses on the side. But anyway, let me find a good one here. Okay, so let's start with Ralph Ellsworth. How come you're not using Romex wire for the outlets in here? So, being as how this electrical is going to be exposed, especially on this first floor, I mentioned in a previous video why I wasn't using Romex. So if you're going to have wire exposed, it really needs to be an MC cable or it needs to be an EMT or rigid. I stay away from PVC conduit as a rule in a building like this. I will use it for my service entrances because it's not going to rot underground. So that's a big reason I'll use it. So I use Schedule 40. We ran from the house to in here. And the other reason of that, I like the metal and I like the EMT. This is a shop. There's going to be a lot of stuff getting moved around, things like that. So when your wiring's exposed, you don't want to be nicking that bearing wire, things like that. Anything to avoid any fire hazard, mitigate any risk you can. So if that answers that question. So basically, Daniel Gang, his, I can't find the comment right now. His comment, I had mentioned that you were allowed to run up to 16 conductors in 3/4 inch conduit, and I also said I would never stuff that many in there. Reason being, the more wires you put in a conduit, you have to derate the wire. So you get up near that maximum, you cannot pull the kind of amps that you would if you didn't pack that thing tight, if that makes any sense. So that's something I also should have mentioned when I talked about the 16 conductors. I should have explained why I wouldn't go that far. Where the heck? There's a few more really good ones, but there's so much in here. There's so many comments to go through. I have trouble keeping up with them now. It's also interesting to see how many of you guys from overseas are chiming in about some of the codes and things that you have to do where you're from. It's pretty interesting. The more, you know, the more I hear about the things, the hoops you guys have to jump through in order just to put a garden shed in your backyard or something, you're making me feel pretty lucky I live where I do. And we don't have a whole ton of red tape around here. We have to, I mean, there's plenty of it, and there gets to be a little more all the time, but you guys have a lot you have to deal with just to do anything. But let me give you some information that I know pretty solidly, and that is about how you determine the size of, so lighting circuits is a big one, anything. So there's a relationship between voltage, amperage, and watts. If you look up Ohm's law, you can figure out a lot of that. So I'm going to run the lighting circuits out here in 15 amps. We're still going to run 12 wire. That way, if 15 amp breaker is not enough, I can always upsize it to 20 amp without having to change wires. A 15 amp circuit in anything is kind of a light duty circuit. It's nothing you're going to plug a hair dryer in. You're not going to run a lot of power tools on a 15 amp circuit. Probably you run your circular saw any kind of distance, you'll probably end up tripping the breaker if you run it long enough. But for the lights we're doing, for LED lights, these light fixtures are only either 34 or 36 watts. So on a 15 amp circuit, it says it's capable of handling 1800 watts. That is misleading. You need to plan for 80% of that load. So say 15 amps. So 15 amps times 120 volts gives you 1800 watts. That's your safe. That's your maximum wattage on that 15 amp circuit. You never want to go all the way up to that wattage. The number is 80%. So I can safely run on a 15 amp circuit at 120 volts. By the time you get done taking the knocking it down to 80%, I can run something like 1440 watts on a 15 amp circuit. Now, there again, with these LED fixtures, doing the math, I can end up running like 42 or 44 of these LED light fixtures on it. And I would never put that many lights on a circuit. Personally, I don't care how low the wattage is, because what if you change light fixtures or something to something a little more powerful down the line? So I kind of go quite a bit lower than that. If I go like 50%, then I know I'm safe. The other thing is, when you're doing that formula, you're doing that calculation, actually check your voltage at your bus, at your in your panel box, because just because it says 120 volt, you know, stuff, you know, we think in terms over here in the US of 240 volt, 120 volt, but a lot of times that's not the actual voltage you have coming in. This box right now, I have 114 volts on one leg, I have 113 on the other. Same thing in the house. So instead of doing 15 times 120, 15 amps times 120 volts, I need to do 15 amps times 114 volts. Well, let's do that quick. 15 times 114, that gives me 1,710 watts that I can put on that circuit before you deduct the 80%. So 1710 times 0.8. I can safely handle 1,368 watts on this one circuit at 115 or 114 volts. And let's go. Now my light fixtures are 36 watts. Divide that. So that tells me I can run 38 of these 4-foot LED fixtures off of that one circuit. Like I said, I probably won't even run half of that off of that one circuit. So I know I'm rambling on here, but I thought this was kind of some important information to share. Read through the comments on these electrical videos. There's some good electricians on there, and you can tell the ones that know what the hell they're talking about. There's a few of them on there. Daniel Gang, I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, bud. He's a regular, been a regular here for a while. He's had some really good information to offer in the comments section, so I would peruse through there, and some people are pretty quick to point out mistakes, things like that, but if you read those comments, the ones that point out the mistakes, some of them have some really good info to offer. Daniel Martin had a good comment on the one video tonight, and that was about the bonding of the box when you're running as a sub panel, and he's absolutely right. So anyway, I'm kind of wiped out. Been a late few days here, so after all this rambling and bullshitting and carrying on, I'm going to call it a night. So hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to keep wiring. We're going to keep working on that last door that we haven't started yet, but we need to. So anyway, have a good one, everybody. I'll see you the next time.